Okay, Dave, hold on.
Is that televised now?
It was televised before.
Was it?
Mics are back on. Go.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, April 3rd. Town Council meeting in Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Yes. Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come together this evening as devoted stewards, determined to lead and mindful of our purpose. Guide our hearts and our minds in the decisions that we make in all matters that come before us. Bless this meeting with your divine presence and guide our actions as this council works to serve the best interests of the good people of the town of West Warwick. Amen.
Amen. Angela, can pledge allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Padula?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the March 6, 2018 joint pre-budget meeting and the March 6, 2018 Town Council meeting are hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agendas, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Which one is this one?
This is correspondence.
Correspondence, not consent.
What is
Any
consent?
public comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait a minute, Dave. We're not voting on these right now, right?
What?
They're gonna come up to be voted on?
Which
These
one?
5 consent, applications. We have applications for planning board,
No, that's just correspondence.
resolutions.
Yeah.
All right.
Nope, nothing's on them. That's just correspondence, the letters that we receive or whatever it may be.
Resolution authorizing the town manager to execute and record a Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management environmental land use restriction for the Crompton Fishing Pier property located at 75 Manchester Street, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
I'll move the, resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Jeff?
Yes. I know Mark Carullo had contacted me going back a few weeks ago regarding the ELUR, the Environmental Land Use Restriction at the fishing pier. And he wants to put that into effect immediately. I don't know if Ernie can elaborate a little bit more on that. Or Mark, I know he was here.
Yes, this is a requirement. When the project was completed, I believe there was some contamination over the soil, so it was covered. And this environmental land use restriction, which would be recorded on the property, with various types of restrictions to make sure that the soil is not disrupted, so that any of the contaminants may leach up or be exposed. So this is one of the requirements, I believe, of the grant that was used for that fishing pier property. And as I said, there was 4 or 5 restrictions, all meant to ensure that nothing would be done to the property that would disrupt the soil, which would lead to contaminants eventually being exposed to anyone using that facility.
I believe we're responsible for doing this yearly, to doing a checkup on this. I've seen the form before, and the question, who's going to be doing this?
Well, I believe this is going to be recorded as on the property, as restrictions. So I would assume that the town would be responsible for monitoring the site to make sure that no one is doing anything that's against these restrictions,
Right.
which would allow, which would violate the restrictions, which would potentially have, the contamination, again, being exposed.
We're talking about the
We have the-
ELUR
there we go.
for fishing pier.
So basically what this is the land use restriction being placed on the property. Most of you probably know that the property was acquired by the town after a house fire. It's related to contamination resulting from the debris from the house fire, as well as some contamination that would have been left over from the mill. Very low levels, but still, the property did have some soil contamination, so Department of Environmental Management came in. They awarded a grant to the town of West Warwick in excess of $100,000. They did an environmental study. The town was able to hire an environmental engineer to go in there and test the property, determine the extent of the contamination, and come up with a plan to cap the property. That was all designed into the project when it went out to bid. Fuss & O'Neill did the remediation plan for the capping, and it has all been implemented. There's a filter fabric on the old material, new material was brought in on top, all the material was checked, and this is a requirement of DEM in exchange for the value of the grant that they awarded to the town. And basically, all it says is that the property is a fishing pier, shall remain a fishing pier. If the town wants to do any changes or add anything to the property, we first have to go to DEM to get their review and approval. Basically, it's stopping us from arbitrarily just digging into the ground over there and disturbing anything that might be contaminated. Standard operating procedure for DEM for these types of projects.
In the mill too, I spoke with the mill owners about 2 months ago, and they are putting in for phase 2 of a grant to cap the parking lot.
It would be a similar situation.
Yeah,
Was this
be the
was
same thing.
Same thing.
Any other questions for Mark?
One question. In the event that something is found in the future and has to be removed, is this property subject to Brownsfield or no?
No, it's not. The contamination wasn't at that level.
So even if something happens into the future, is the town going to be responsible for removing it? If something should
It's
happen?
actually been analyzed, it's been fully analyzed.
Right.
They've done testing on the soil. They did boring into the soil. It's been determined by DEM to have a certain level of contamination that has been remediated. There should be no other exposure to the town.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Mark? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you for
Thanks,
coming out of
Mark.
the shadows, Mark.
Thank you, John.
Addition and cancellation of taxes, resolved that the attached additions in the amount of $8,474.88 and cancellations in the amount of $3,652.72 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. The original list is on file in the office of the tax assessor.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2018-6, as amended, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, previously tabled. An ordinance amending Chapter 14, Police, Article 4, Security Alarm Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Actually, you gotta move to put it off the table.
All right.
I move to take it off the table.
I'll second.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None,
Now
ayes
I'll
have it.
move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving seconded, Al?
I would ask that a motion be made to amend the ordinance as is presented to you in 2018-6 as amended. What happened was that the 2018-6 was presented to you a month ago. The council requested some changes being made. I asked the council to table 2018-6, and the council did it. The council's now removed that, put it back on the agenda, and I am now asking that 2018-6 be amended as I have presented to you through the agenda in 2018-6 as amended, that takes care of the changes that the council requested last month.
This is the amended version.
This,
on.
you have the amended version before you. So I asked the council a motion to adopt the amended,
Yeah, it says amended on it.
okay.
Any other discussion?
Basically, all that did was, I left in place, the big part was removing automatic dialing systems and replacing it with direct connect alarm systems, and I removed the provision that enable the council to set a fee for maintenance of the alarm systems.
This is what we were voting on last week, that's gonna put another burning on the business, right?
Well, you and I disagree on that.
It's all right to disagree.
It authorizes the council at some time to place a fee. It did not place any fees.
Chief?
That's why I came up for discussion. There's no fee charged at all. My recommendation is to leave section 1457, fees and fines, paragraph B, to leave that paragraph in for future council, whatever, for maintenance of alarm systems.
So why would we need this now if we're not implementing a fee? Why would we need it?
Just reading this over, nobody knew it was in here. And there is other towns and cities that do charge a fee, and that's what John Patella was trying to explain the last time we brought this up. We're not asking to do it now, but just to keep that paragraph in
So I
there
think, so why I think
as an option.
Al wants to keep that in there, and the chief, is if later on down the road, if somebody does want to, they can do it by, the ordinance is already set, they can do it by resolution, if need be, if it ever goes that far.
I don't like it.
The council will have to approve the fee in the fee part. As long as you don't do that, it doesn't happen.
But if another council wanted to do it, they could bring this ordinance up themselves and then take a vote.
They could.
In order, if some future council wants to put in a fee for, I'll call it maintenance, they have to first amend the ordinance and then go to the resolution. What I am saying is that this just says if that future council wants to put the fee in, they don't have to amend the ordinance.
But we're putting the cart before the
Well,
horse.
it also lists reasons why you might fine, why the council by resolution might actually fine. It says, failure to register the alarms. It seems logical to me.
We're not adding it in there, it's already in there, we're just not taking it out. Correct?
Did you see that, Bob?
The amendment takes it out.
No, but we're not, okay,
If you vote on the amendment as presented to you tonight,
okay.
it's gone.
Well, what he's getting at is right now, it's the law.
Right now, it's in there.
As of now,
Right now,
it's in there. You will tonight be taking it out on this amendment.
We agreed to take it out?
What, at the last
Didn't you
council,
just recommend, I thought you just recommended we didn't take it
at the
out.
last council meeting, the discussion came about to remove it. So in order to do that, I had to submit to you an amendment with it removed.
I don't support taking it out, so.
So what the chief is now saying is he would like to amend my amendment and put it back.
Okay,
Right, so in other words, you have it lined out right now, the shall be set from time to time by resolution. You want to put it back in, is
Yeah.
what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
So
that's the
a future
provision.
council could do that, they could fine.
So you have to vote on this by sections. If you want to pass it as is, you'd move to pass it as amended, notwithstanding the chief's issues, or you could pass it, but take out section B of 1457, and vote on that separately.
What they could do is move to amend what you have before you, 2006 as amended, by adding to it whatever that section number is, and then take a vote on the whole thing.
The easiest way to do it is do section B first.
Yeah, that's what it's,
Right, section B first. If the council by a majority vote wants to keep that part would be
Yeah, I
omitted
don't
from
want
the
that.
amended part, so when they vote on the amendment as a whole, that will still remain.
that's right.
Everybody understand that? So you'd have to vote on section 1457B first as to whether or not you want to keep it as Alice put it, removing it, or you want to keep it the way it is.
And then and at that point in time,
Omit that.
if the council passes it that way, I will submit tomorrow morning the
Why put it up?
amendment with the language.
For who?
So
For-
let's
for
not,
second reading.
let's not call it an amended.
We can amend
let's just say
anything
that
we want. We can put it on
We're gonna vote on
everything
it.
we want, so can they.
Section.
So why are we putting it?
I don't want to
I'm
vote
with
on
you.
sections.
I'd like to
Say we
table it.
readjust it.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
All right, so,
Yeah, table it.
I'd like to table it.
I'll second it.
well, hold on.
We need
If you're gonna-
direction.
If you're gonna table it, you have to give
Al's
Mr.
direction.
DiFiore direction.
I'd like to, I personally would like to, what the chief suggested is like what I would like to
Put
do.
it back in.
Correct.
And if that's
Okay.
everyone's thought process, make that known to
Well,
me.
what's your thought process?
On which amendment? No,
just
I'm
a-
teasing. I would like to look at this again as a whole. Is that an option to do? We have an A and a B?
No, my point is that if you're gonna table it, Mr. DiFiore needs some direction on which way to go, because now he's presented it two ways, and now he's going back to the first way with some parts amended, other parts aren't, so he's
Right.
gonna need some direction. So if you table it right now, that ends discussion. So you might wanna discuss it a little further
Okay.
about what the council's position is about subsection B or any other section of this proposed amended ordinance.
Well, there's already a first and a second to table it.
Well, I'm just saying, if you
Well, I want to
table
give them the direction before we table it, so.
I don't know, I just think we're putting the cart before the horse, and any council can put any ordinance they want. Why are we doing it if we're not planning on enforcing this,
It has always been there.
but not the fee?
No, the
The language has always been in there.
Right, I know the language has
the
been there.
language authorizing a resolution has been there. Last week, I took out the language authorizing the resolution. I would like to see it in, just leaving it there, so that if a council down the road wants to put a fee in for maintenance, it doesn't have to go through the first reading.
Now, my
when you
point
say
is,
that-
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
My point is, if this ordinance passes tonight and it gets advertised, the businesses aren't gonna know yet what it is. So the ordinance is already in place, so I think it should be advertised, and when we do, if any other council, because I personally am not gonna go for that fee and put another burden on the businesses in this town, they have enough. With the Kent County water on them, the fire alarms, the sprinklers, it's out of control. People can't afford it no more, so I'm totally against this ordinance. That's me.
Again,
Am I misunderstanding? Is it a fee or a fine?
It's neither.
It's neither.
Not yet.
What it is, right, the old ordinance said that if the council wants to charge people who have these alarm systems a yearly maintenance cost, they can do so by resolution. After the meeting, I took that out. Chief Barris comes up and says,
Wants
he
it
would
in.
like to see that back in, so that if down the road, the council wants to charge.
not just
a
the
fee,
council, the chief and the fire department want to
Want
put a
to put
fee
a
on
fee
that.
in.
And bring it before the
Bring
council.
it before the
it'll be in
council. The difference is that if that happens 2 years from now, the council has to pass an ordinance.
Right, it'd be a much quicker
Putting it
process
back
for the
in.
chief to bring it forward.
Right. If it's in there, you pass a resolution. If it's
The
not in there,
The resolution cuts out about 40 days.
and advertising fees.
Yeah, so keep it in there. That's my vote. But I'm only-
I
only
have
one
no
person.
problem with it in there, because there's no fee to it as of
Right.
right now,
Right.
so.
Okay, I'll come back with
All
another
right,
one.
I have a motion to table. I have a motion to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Somebody
Ayes have it.
second or first.
Another plane ticket out.
Till May
Watch
2nd.
out, we might come with a fee, you're stepping in town hall or stepping in the airport.
May 2nd or 1st, or whenever your May meeting
Bring
is.
some nice weather back that time,
Okay,
please.
yeah.
Al. I mean, come on.
You already brought back the snow.
All right, next.
Okay, Ordinance number 2018-9, first reading, sponsored by Council Vice President D'Amico, an ordinance, Chapter 4, Animals and Fowl, Article 2, Animal Control, Section 4-29, license and registration required of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second. Al?
This was referred to you earlier this evening in your budget hearing. it was called to my attention a couple of weeks ago that the state statute requires there be a surcharge for each dog license in an amount to be set from time to time by resolution of the town council in an amount required by the general laws to be deposited in a spray neuter account to fund low-cost spray neuter programs. That's what's being added to your ordinance, and in the resolution that's coming up next is the inclusion of the state mandated fee.
Which is
That's
only
bringing
$1,
this-
right? Yeah.
That's bringing this into compliance with the state statute, and the fee that the state mandates is $1.
So again, Kristen, you'd have to create that account, show as revenue.
It would go into, I was gonna have it go into the special revenue fund that we have set up for the animal shelter in a separate department.
That's
That's specifically for spay and neuter.
spay and neuter, low cost.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Fees and charges, that's all it says here.
It's
You
a
want me to read-
resolution.
You want me to read the whole resolution? I can read it.
Yeah,
Whereas section 1-12, section 1-12 fees and
If I might interrupt, this is just a resolution to put in that $1 fee that in the ordinance that is being re-amended, there was in that ordinance
so let me just ask a question real quick. To register a dog will be $8 now if it's spayed and neutered,
well, yeah,
not 7?
yes,
change that ordinance too.
yes, that's mandated by the statute, by the state law,
By state.
yeah.
The dollar.
So you're adding that,
Keep it separated, so $7 is gonna go to the town.
I have it in the resolution. I have neutered, I have your license fees, and then I have a separate line that says neuter space surcharge on all licenses, $1.
Well, I still haven't had anybody move this resolution, so,
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
all right.
So there's that addition. Secondly, in the amendment we were just discussing, there was an annual charge on the fire alarm license of $10. It was in the ordinance, and like every other time that I find a fee in an ordinance, I'm removing it from the ordinance and putting in the fee schedule. And finally, the dog licenses somehow or other had been listed in the police department, so I'm removing those licenses from the police department because they're presently in the clerk's office. And in addition, for some reason, I don't know why, our VIN inspections was listed in our fee schedule at $25. The state statute mandates at $10. So that's the three changes.
So Al, what I'm looking at here, it shows dog licenses, and then it shows dog licenses again. I don't, all right, I see it, never mind. So the neutered surcharge is $1. Neutered male, spayed female is $7. Unneutered male or female is $15. But add that dollar in the end. That-
Yeah, I put it in separately because it's going into a separate account from the other licenses.
So
That's
should
why I
that,
gave
should
it a
that
second.
show the actual price would be $8
No.
and $16, and then put in down bottom something to $1 from each?
I think that it's clearer by having it in.
It's
as-
clearer to you, but general public comes in and says, well, it says $7 to register a dog. It doesn't say $8. It's only $1, but I know it's gonna happen.
I think we would probably
Or-
make the fee $8 and $16 and not break it down for the consumer.
Because I know it's gonna happen.
Or maybe
Somebody's
you
gonna
could
come
say
in here,
include
agree.
state surcharge.
including my own father will probably come in here and say it says $7, and then call and yell at me
But
and
but
say
what if
that
you
we're
say,
taking his money.
what if you say you charge
And Tom will
$8,
too.
and you say
Would
it
the council
includes a
like to make
$1
an amendment to
state
the
surcharge?
resolution, and I will submit it tomorrow to the clerk?
Yeah, coming back anyway
Just
next
do
time.
it, do it the same way you handle some of the recordings where it indicates what a state fee is and what a town fee is. So if you break it down as one number, then in the parenthetical you put, because when people say, why did they go up? You can say because the state imposed the additional fee.
Table till May 1st.
I think we should put that wording in properly.
Okay.
Instead of amending it, so that way there, and it's advertised properly. Any other comment? Motion to table.
Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2018-10. First reading sponsored by Councilman Messier, an ordinance amending Appendix C traffic ordinances of the town, of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick, Winthrop Avenue, no parking.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Jay?
It's pretty simple. There's a spot on Winthrop Ave where there's a hill, and it's really tough to see when you're going over the hill. There's been no parking on one side. We brought it to the traffic commission. They agreed that it should be on both sides. It's really difficult to see when you're going over there. It could be an accident, so.
It was voted on by the traffic committee with a positive recommendation to the council to put no parking on the west side.
I don't know if anybody's here from Winthrop. It doesn't look like it, but the residents of the neighborhood that I spoke with all were in favor of it as well, so.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2018-11, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Chapter 5 Buildings, Article 2 Fences, Section 5-55, and Chapter 15.5 Soil Erosion and Sediment Control, Article 1 in general, Sections 15.5-2, 15.5-3 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West
Move
Warwick.
the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
What happened was a question came up in zoning regarding where you can put fences. And I read the ordinance, and I sent it over to Mark Carullo, and neither one of us knew what the ordinance said. Basically, what the ordinance was trying to say was that if you have a corner lot on the corner side of your property, you can have a fence in the side setback, but for the first 25 feet, it can only be 3.5 feet high for visibility. It also went on a second section of it. It intended to say that you can have a front yard fence in your front setback. The language was such that neither Mark nor I could ration it out, so basically all we did was we clarified that, saying, if you got a corner lot, you can have a fence in your side setback, but for the 25 feet out to the corner, it can be no higher than 3.5 feet. And in the front yard, you can have a fence in your front setback, and that's governed by the 6 foot in the statute.
Any questions for Al?
The second section of that was strictly changing the word with to within and changing the mayor to the town manager.
Any question? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2018-12, first reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 9 Policies, Personnel Policies and Standards, Manual of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second.
Members of council, what happened here was in the code review, I dealt with Karen, and we put together a amendment to the section of the code dealing with the personnel policies and standards manual. Subsequent to my having sent that to Paula to put on your agenda, I got in further discussion with Karen, and Karen suggested further changes to that initial proposal. Unfortunately, what happened was by the time I had made those secondary changes, it was too late to re-notice it. So what I'm asking the council to do tonight is to move to amend what you originally had with ordinance 2018-12 as amended, which I've just handed for your convenience, a hard copy to you. These are the latest changes that Karen proposed, and on this issue, because it's of that nature, I have to call Karen to answer any questions that you may have. She gave me sections of the manual which I put in here, but as to the workings of the policy and standards, that, you know, I'm not aware of that, so if you have any questions, I would suggest you address them to Karen.
So one of the reasons why this was brought up to me was recently, when this first came on the agenda, I was talking to a town employee that was talking to me about this and said, they thought it was about their contract stuff and whatever, and so that's why I raised the flags to you to discuss this and say, where did this come from? Then today, some people who saw the agenda thought this was all for town employees as far as giving and taking, whatever it may be. This has absolutely zero to do with any contract in the town. All municipal employees, police, fire, municipal, this has nothing to do with them whatsoever. Their contract is staying the same, nothing's changed.
What was not in your first one that you raised the issue with me on, I have added into here a section, in section 2, 303 definitions. I have added in that administrative employee is a non-union employee.
Yep.
So that I tried to clarify, when you raised that issue, David, I tried to make sure that everyone was aware that this does not get involved with the contracts.
Well, and again, online, it doesn't say that, so the people who are reading it at
That's
home,
right. That's the one that I just asked.
and this is the amended, it actually does underline administrative employee, a non-union employee.
That's the one I'm asking you to move tonight on the amendment.
Now, again, and Karen, you can answer any of these questions. Conditions of employment, sick leave, there's been no changes per se as far as that's gone, as of, this was already in place, it's just changing the manual to
Changing
proper
the
language.
ordinance to reflect what the manual had, because it really was very convoluted. So everything's been in place since we adopted the policy, the Administrative Employee Policy and Standards Manual, which was June 2nd of 2015. So no, nothing's changed, it's just trying to get it in sync, that it's speaking properly.
The ordinance said one thing,
Well, the ordinance kind
The
of left you that
employee manual said
it
something
spoke, right,
totally
it spoke to administrative and it also spoke to union. So I don't know why it was convoluted like that, but as I read it a couple of times, I said, no, this ordinance has got to be speaking just to administrative employees, non-union, because they have collective bargaining agreements that
When we-
render to them.
when we passed this back in 2015, there were 4 department heads or 5 that we grandfathered in, correct?
There were,
That was Dave Lombari, Ray
Yep.
Beatty, Elaine Mansour, and Chief Barris. No?
No, Chief Barris, we did not.
Oh, we
There-
also,
Dave Chilton-
3.
right?
Dave Chilton is in there as well.
Who?
Dave Chilton is in there and
Clayton.
Christine Savagian.
So there was 5.
Right. So now we only have 3 left.
So,
So through attrition, we will no longer have the administrative, non-union employees will no longer have those 3 buckets of personal, sick, and vacation time. We
PTO.
all utilize PTO time. And in doing so, by creating that policy, we took 80% of our accumulated time, we gave back to the town 20%. So we saved the town about almost $16,800 a year in doing so. So that we have flexibility with the time, because it's known as paid time off, but we gave back, we didn't take the whole thing, we gave back a percentage to the town.
so basically what you're trying to do, what you're saying, just to clarify, is the ordinance does not match up with the manual.
Well,
The
it
employee
does,
handbook.
it now matches up with the policies and standards manual. It speaks to, we don't say in the ordinance who these people are that are
Right,
grandfathered.
right, right.
But it shows that there are provisions for sick time and vacation time, and then there are provisions for paid time off.
Right.
So again, if you read the paid time off, that's where it's very specific, and it addresses who's grandfathered as far as a date of hire.
Right.
If you came before this date, you kept those buckets. After that date, you went with paid time off. So like I say, through attrition, we have only 3 people left. After that, the ordinance will need to be amended again so that it speaks strictly to paid time off, we will no longer use. But that's in years to come when these three people are no longer employed.
Al, what we're doing here, going from a year probationary period for a department head to 6 months, we're dropping it 6 months.
It's actually already that. In
It
the-
is,
Yeah, but to
We're not
who?
dropping it, Angela. The employee handbook that we voted on in 2015 has all that information. The
Sorry.
ordinance doesn't, so I was just trying to get the ordinance to match the handbook.
What they did.
So the ordinance was done improperly in 2015, right?
No.
No, the
I
handbook.
don't know when they did the
Ordinance
ordinance.
wasn't changed.
But why wasn't the ordinance changed?
Because this is something Al's been working on, is working on our ordinances to, because we've made changes throughout the years, and ordinances weren't changed. So Al's been going through, first he went to all department heads, and has been sending all the ordinances over to them to go through.
So how did they get an extra 2 days if it's less than, it went from 13 days, is crossed out to 15 days?
Because
One.
that's, Angel, all I did was, your ordinance has been sitting there for some period of time, okay? Apparently, in 2015, a manual was adopted by the town. The ordinance did not, at that point in time, nobody bothered to take that ordinance and make the changes that the manual had made. All I did was Karen told me these sections of the manual. I took those sections of the manual and repeated that language in the ordinance to make the ordinance comply with the
So
manual,
it mirrors each other.
which was adopted.
But in 2015, Dave, you remember giving extra days and less probationary months? I don't.
Well, that's what's in the manual.
Maybe the manual was printed improperly. I'd have to see where the council voted on this, because what we're doing here, we're giving more. So in other words, you're not on probation for a year, you're on probation for 6 months, and 1 to less than 4 years, you get 15 days instead of 13 days.
But that's already been approved by the passing of the manual back in 2015.
I assume that's been effective.
And how did that,
That's been in effect for the last 3 years.
And that manual was voted on, and I know it was voted on 5-0.
I don't remember it.
The only suggestion I'd like
They
to
must
make
have caught me sleeping on that
in the
day.
ordinance, make sure that the word administrative
Remember it?
gets put in front of any term of employee, because I counted about,
against
there's at least 17 where employees just hanging out without the
Make it-
administrative.
I will, when I submit it to, I'll submit it one to, Paula, that, my opinion is, you don't have to
This
report on
wasn't
that.
in effect.
That's typographical
Right,
changes.
but the point is, if
I
you
will-
leave without administrative,
Right.
someone's gonna say,
I
right.
thought I had caught it all, I did.
I just counted quickly, there's about 19,
I will
17,
just go through and add
right.
administrative.
So,
So you're just cleaning it up?
Karen,
So just to mirror.
Karen, you said you gave days back. Can you tell us where they were?
Say that again?
You said you gave percentages back, 20%. Can you
Right.
tell us where that is?
So in the, well, you know, it's a calculation here. We have a methodology that says that at the time when we did this in 2015, we looked at the amount of personal time that we would have received, the amount of sick time that we would have received, and the amount of vacation time for each person. And when we looked at it all, we said, okay, well, obviously, if we want paid time off and have that flexibility, you gotta give something back. So we took 80% of what that calculation was. That's what we now accrue. Only 80%, not 100% of those days. And the total that was savings we found was $16,829.59. And since we haven't had any increase in salaries, that is the same amount that we're saving every year by doing this.
The other thing that, maybe we have to look at the employee manual and contracts later on, is bereavement. We have days in here, and not hours.
Right.
I think we need to look at that and change that to hours throughout the future. Especially when you have people on 24-hour shifts. That's a whole day to them. So is it 5 days of bereavement at 24 hours? Or is it 8 hours of bereavement?
And we have had that
That's the discussion.
before, yes.
I have heard that in the past few months.
Yeah,
And some people come in after 8 hours and do it, and then some people argue it
take 10.
and say, I get 24, I get 5
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
And they consider the 24 hours 1 day. So you're getting paid for 5 days, which could be 120 hours.
Then,
Just want to point that out. So we need to look at that in the
The
future.
language has to be cleaned up.
Language, because it's not fair to an 8-hour employee who gets 5 days for immediate, and God forbid, I mean,
Right,
it should
right.
be taking more time, actually. But that's 40 hours of work
Right.
time. And a firefighter, I'm gonna bring point blank, at 24 hours could be up to 5 days, or, you know, however they work it. So like I said, 1 day of bereavement is 24 hours for them.
And none of our bereavement policies in any of the collective bargaining agreements, as well as the administrative, none of them are the same. They're all different.
We need to,
So if we could have some continuity, would help.
Yes.
and
easy
then,
for you.
Dave, then we have that discussion, 150 days off for the new people that came in. We're gonna grandfather the other ones in, that they couldn't accumulate that much sick time. They had to use it or lose it. Now we got it back right here,
Jim
150.
Thomas gave that back. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
Jim
but then
Thomas-
we were talking about this last budget with the previous council, that we weren't gonna allow this anymore because we have people that are 200,000, we're talking about a certain individual.
Angelo, I fully agree with you. I did not want department heads accumulating so many days, and we went through that. Jim Thomas gave it back years ago, and I argued.
Yeah, but
it.
we're management here,
But again, the town manager gave it back, so now we have to go back, if we're gonna go back and change it, we have to pretty
We
much
have to change the
discuss it.
handbook
Right,
then. We can't
exactly.
change this.
Yeah.
This
Right.
doesn't matter.
Because
The handbook is already been voted
agree-
on.
I agree wholeheartedly. What I have a tough time with, and we've run into it in our budget, is a department head who accumulates so much time, and we'll use the DPW director, for instance. Had enough time, he was on 6 months, and we're now paying for 2 positions. Now, chief,
You want to use me as an example?
chief is an example because he can't accrue. I know he
Use me
can't.
as an example.
Come on up, chief.
You only had your 3 grandfather people in. After that, all other department heads have given up a ton. I was getting 40 days, vacation sick, all that. I only get 31 now with the PTO.
Exactly.
Longevity was stopped.
That's it.
Well, we don't allow buyback anymore of sick time.
Right, so
So why is it there?
Let's stop
Where are you?
are you looking at sick leave?
going forward,
Yeah.
that has been restructured.
Well, not by here it hasn't. It's given 150 days, 5 months.
Right, but they stopped I guess at one point, they used to allow it to 180 days, where
Right.
they would pay it out at 50%.
Right.
So that has stopped, they capped it at the 150. As a matter of fact, it used to go to 230, and they gave you 25%.
Well, we were down to 130, and then they brought it back up to 150 again.
Well, I don't know if that was some kind of a compromise, but it is definitely capped at 150.
No, again, I think that was something Jim Thomas changed on
Yeah,
his
well,
own
I mean,
arbitrarily.
And again, you
Now's the
have
time
the
to change it.
opportunity, obviously, to review it.
Well,
I would.
here's what I would like to do, for whatever it means, is I would like to not move on this. And because if this, I know this is different than the handbook. And if people, I think we should look at the employee handbook a little more closely first to see if we're gonna make any changes there.
I would,
In here.
I would strongly suggest not doing that. The reason you're not doing that is that you could run into a real conflict where, I don't know the differences, but you can run into a conflict where somebody comes up and says, the handbook says this, but your ordinance says this, and I like the ordinance better. So which one are you gonna go with?
Well, I just wanna I wanna get more familiar before I make a decision, that's
So
all.
all I'm saying to you is, as of now, make your ordinance the same as your handbook.
Right, and then
And
address
then you've got everything identical, and then when you make your change to your handbook, we also make the change at the ordinance. Otherwise, you're gonna have 2 different controlling documents out there.
Right.
And I just don't, I think
All right.
on the short run, by the time the council gets done with budgets and everything else, and we can get to revising the handbook, we're gonna have a period of time where we got 2 different
Right.
controlling documents. So I would just like to see one set of languages and then go forward and amend the whole thing.
So we'll be voting, I need a motion to vote on the amended version, and then we need to advertise the amended version.
Well, that would be for second reading.
For second reading, correct. Again, there was a lot of confusion, like a lot of people thought, and actually, when I'm looking at this one that's online, there's actually
Yes.
a lot of savings per se, as far as, because it used to show 1 to 4 years, 13 days, 3 years was changed to 10 days, which I didn't see an issue with that, like when I was reading this version of it. But I guess the general public had a concern with it, but I'm looking at it where it went from 8 years, used to get 18 days, now you had to have 12 years to get 18 days. Where I was confused by what the general public was saying, because this one actually looks better than this one, to be honest with you. That's
Well,
what I was trying to get at.
understand, but, you know, as I said, the first draft I did was what I had been told, and then when Karen took a look at it, she decided there were a lot more changes that had to be made to bring the ordinance into compliance, same language as the manual, so that, you know, as I said, Jason, my concern is that you got,
All right,
some
okay.
employee comes up and says, I like the ordinance.
It's understandable.
So if you pass it, then we can go forward with the
Right.
manual.
Typically, you adjust your.
So we're using one
employee
document.
At the time, right, and you,
All right.
and you go through that if you're negotiating a contract.
Okay.
That's the time to overhaul everything, so,
So are we making a motion to move this as amended?
Yes.
as amended.
Is that correct? Okay,
As
so I'm gonna make that motion. I make the motion to move this ordinance as amended.
I second.
Moving second, any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yeah.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I don't like it.
Ordinance number 2018-13, first reading, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi, an ordinance amending Chapter 12-5 Parks and Recreation, Article 3 McCarthy Field of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion, Al?
Basically, your present ordinance regarding the use of fields takes care of McCarthy Field and Amby Smith Field. It doesn't take care of anything else. So in talking with Councilman Licciardi, we've changed that so that the ordinance now takes care of any town athletic field, basketball court, tennis court, or playground, hereinafter called facilities. So we're now making the ordinance governing the use of the, all of our town athletic facilities, playgrounds, whatever you want to call them. This ordinance covers them all, instead of just McCarthy Field and Amby Smith Field.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, oh, Tom?
I do have one question on
Just state your name and address,
Yeah.
your record, Tom.
Tom Oates, Colonial Way, West Warwick. Section 12.5-35, the prohibition of alcoholic beverages. And this consumption of alcoholic beverages on town property is prohibited. Accordingly, beverages are not permitted in any manner. Should there not be a caveat that if you have a Class P license for catering, you can have alcoholic beverages?
That's a good question, because
That's
we've
a
had
very
con-
good question.
Well, because we've had town events.
case.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon?
I would defer to
The blanket,
the town
the
solicitor
blanket-
on that, but I
the
would
blanket
think
statute.
the state statute overrides.
The blanket statute would be this, in the event there's a case by case. So for example, next 5 years, there's no event that's gonna have alcohol or a Class P license. The 6th year there is, the council, that has to come before the council. So the state law is gonna supersede this anyway,
What state law would supersede that?
on a Class P license.
So a Class P license, again, supersedes any laws, any,
You have a
no, look,
I'm
just
wanna
so
make
I
sure.
can clarify
You have a
what I,
local- You have a local ordinance, all right? The local ordinance does not supersede state law nor the Constitution. So if the state law allows for an alcoholic beverage to be supplied but through a Class P license that the state Department of Regulation, Business Regulation, gives to that license holder, that license holder can exercise his right where he wants to use it.
could,
Hold on. If he wants to fight it, or if the town wants to fight it, Providence lost the case. So when you brought that issue up before, all right, that's why we didn't want to end up in court on the same type of an issue. So the
Right.
Class P license that's issued by the state, through its rules, its regulations, and its laws, supersedes the local ordinance.
Actually, according to,
For that,
I'm sorry.
for that particular event, not on a day-in, day-out basis.
Okay, according to my research, there's a mistake, that there was no, that wasn't one, that was just a preliminary injunction. The case wasn't one, it was a preliminary injunction, according to my research. But could you supply me with the proper paperwork from the state that tells me what a Class P license holder is entitled to do?
Mr. Roach, you can get that right on
I can't,
DBR.
beg your pardon?
You can get that from DBR.
What's DBR?
Department of Business.
Actually, you can't get a response from, I've put in the request 4 separate times with no response whatsoever. And I'm asking you, could you supply that for me?
Actually, no.
And why not?
Because if I have to supply you as a citizen with something, that means I'd have to supply everyone that makes a request to me. So if you want to make a request from the council to direct the manager to get that to me, to give to him so he can give to you, that's fine.
Could we do that circle jerk to have that done? Because
Well, that's,
I'm,
that, that, I
I'd
mean,
like
that,
that
that does- that
information
doesn't
for
make, that
myself.
doesn't make any sense. Why would you say that?
well, what doesn't make sense?
A circle jerk?
My apologies for the terminology. The circle. Mr. President, could you request the town manager to request the solicitor to get the information that I'm requesting?
I don't want to pay the solicitor. I'd recommend to the clerk to go get that information from the state and supply it to Mr. Oates, please.
Perfect. So what I'd like to find is the documentation, state law, that governs what a Class P license holder is entitled to do.
I'm gonna need that in writing, and you can just go on the website to the town clerk and get the, all public, requests, information requests must be in writing to our office, and then, and that application, that request,
Mary Ann,
yes.
I'll request it. I want it for myself anyway, so.
Okay,
As
now
long as
does
it's
that
in writing,
request,
I'd take it from there.
okay, and that request has to be approved by the solicitor?
No.
No. You guys are misunderstanding. I don't approve the request. I review the request for one simple purpose, that things that are not public don't get provided. Other than that, I don't approve anything. I just look to see whether or not the documents that are being looked at are appropriate to be provided to the public. That's it. I don't approve or disapprove anything.
Okay, but it still has to go through you. Once she gets the documents, you will,
No. If she gets the documents, she can provide them to you, but right now, she's gonna provide them to Councilman Padula.
perfect.
I wanted that anyway, and I never got it myself.
Perfect.
I wanted to see what that Class P, what's true and what's false about all that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of
'Cause I might-
discrepancy
Matter of
on,
fact, I might get one myself.
there's a lot of discrepancy right now on attorneys' interpretation of a Class P license,
Hey, Tom.
as well as,
We've said it numerous times here before. We could put 4 attorneys in this room, none of them will agree on anything. And,
right, but the law is the
I
law.
know, but the law is the law, but.
but they all interpret the law differently.
Beg your pardon?
That's why you have a,
Yeah, but
why we have
what's
a
it
Supreme
consist
Court.
of?
And, yeah, exactly.
Right,
And
so
in the,
here's my question for you. If you and I would want to disagree.
yeah,
right,
yeah,
To what extent do we take it, and how much is it gonna cost the taxpayer?
it could cost quite a bit.
Right.
Exactly.
But then, who's gonna be the first person that's going to be arguing about the cost of the town solicitor to do this? The general public, right?
Correct.
I can't win it any way I do it.
I understand.
Okay, thanks.
But I think it's just the interpretation that a state catering, a Class P license, okay, so the
So, Tom,
PTA, the PTA is gonna have a teacher's appreciation dinner during lunch up at the school for the teachers. And they've hired Rhode Island Bakes to put this big dinner on for the teachers during lunch. They're also gonna have a keg party up there. They're gonna have a keg and sell wine and beer at their event for the teachers during school hours. Is that gonna be allowed?
No. because
Absolutely not.
The council's not gonna approve that.
Okay, absolutely not. And even if the council approved it,
The council wouldn't approve it because if it's during school hours, the kids are gonna be there.
the superintendent already made it clear that she wouldn't approve it, but.
but you don't
Tom,
have
what I
a,
want to point out, in this ordinance, the alcohol itself, personally, when it comes to the Class P liquor license and catering, that's being handled, not reviewed, but being handled by a professional caterer. Now, this ordinance, based upon the alcohol, and all of us have been down the fields throughout the years.
Yes.
On Friday night, a kid's got a game, the parents want to sit out in the outfield and chug down a 24-pack with their buddies. All right, that's what this prevents. That's what this ordinance is about.
Okay.
When it comes to, and
Particular event. that's
particular
being
events,
approved
it's
by the
different.
town.
But this
Okay.
ordinance is to protect and be able to enforce the Red Cup law, or whatever you want to call it, because that's what we used to call it, the Red Cup parents. They'd be in the outfield all with their red cups. And then one year, they called them the Red Cups, they changed to blue. That's what that's to avoid.
Right.
And so the people just can't come there and drink during their kids' games and whatever else.
It's a preliminary injunction, though. That's the current ruling. It's a preliminary injunction, and I'm not sure the legalese and what that means.
I understand,
But
but the preliminary injunction allowed the holder of the license to have the event.
And we as a council.
Preliminary injunction was against the city from stopping him. From
right,
having the
and
event.
that case is still wide open.
But they've already had the event, Tom.
I understand that.
But Tom,
So who won the day?
Who won the
The
day?
guy that has the P license.
Exactly.
Right, so why would
But
we-
who was wrong
Hold on.
in allowing it to
Who
happen?
would win if we were to duplicate the same process? The town would have spent money on me, we would have went to court, and the court would have said, it's already been ruled on, in this case involving the city of Providence. So then the next one, I submit my bill, people in the audience are gonna, why did we spend money on this when it's
Pol-
already been established?
Preliminary injunction.
The preliminary injunction was issued against the city of Providence, like it would have been issued against the town of West Warwick. We would have lost.
Okay, different scenario.
But Tom,
I have,
Tom, so we're not going on this all night.
Right.
This ordinance itself is, again, like I said, to keep the parents from drinking or any patron out in the park just sitting there drinking and having a good old time. Now, the council itself, if there's gonna be an event on McCarthy Field, a concert, and the council, like we did the 100th anniversary, the council feels deemed that they can hire a caterer, we can vote on that on each additional time. We have to vote on it.
okay.
Okay, so that's why it doesn't really need to be in here. Each and every time that event comes up, we would vote on that event.
So I have a question on this then. All right, that's a town event. Suppose Little League wants to have an event on Natick Field. And they have the permit to use the field, typically on a regular basis. Their event calls for food, and they want to have someone with a Class P doing running the event, the catering. It comes before us. We have the say whether or not that event can and can't go on.
And also stipulate to what the conditions are gonna be. So for example, comparing it to what happened for the fights.
Yeah.
That's an inside arena.
Yeah.
Pretty much controlled. When you're outside of the ball field, the council's gonna approve that. The council may say, however, you'll need 8 police officers.
And not only that,
You'll need
police might
6
say they want it roped
firefighters.
off.
You'll
Right.
need all these types of conditions to make things safe, much like the La down at the Holy Ghost. Where
Polish Festus.
Right, it was the beer garden, that was never there before.
Mhm.
Once the beer garden was instituted, the number of alcohol-related offenses dropped dramatically, because now it was in a controlled environment.
But
I
we can
understand
set that, and the
Absolutely.
Class P doesn't override.
No,
Class
they
P
have the
allowed-
right to do it, but
Right.
we could say we want, like Melanzi's, when he did the 100-year, he was in a roped-in area, that's where everybody, when we had the food truck event, they were in a roped-off area.
okay.
You can set the conditions to make things as safe as possible for patrons.
Police and fire usually bring that to us.
One more different scenario. I have a concealed carry permit for a pistol. Now,
Oh,
I
you got it
walk,
on you?
beg your pardon?
You have it on you?
It's in his cane.
It's in my cane. Okay, I have
waving that thing
a concealed carry permit. I'm allowed by the state, by a license, a permit by the state to carry a concealed firearm. Colonel Magera, can I walk into the high school with that concealed weapon and still be within the law? Bingo, thank you.
You can't walk into a courthouse either with it.
Correct.
All right, but that has nothing to do with the
It's the
ordinance.
same thing. It's apples and apples, not apples and bananas. So I'll wait and get that from you, Angelo, after you get it from Mary. Thank you very much
Thank you, Tom.
for your consideration.
Any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay? John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Fees and charges, Recreation Department.
What's this, a resolution?
Yes.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Discussion?
As a result of your last motion, what we did was, there was no fee, what Councilman Licciardi suggested that we institute a $10 recreation fund surcharge to go, and I'll leave it to Councilman Licciardi to explain it. So we added that to Amby Smithfield, I got it in twice, it should have been McCarthy Field, Amby Smithfield, and Ray Silverfield, and we also added it in a couple of other places. We also added in charges for basketball and tennis courts. If you are a West Warwick resident or organization, there is no charge. If you are a commercial organization, it's $10 per hour. If you're a non-West Warwick resident, it's $10 per hour. Councilman Licciardi also got into the facility cleanup and damage repair. And in looking at and trying to come up with a number, I contacted DPW, and I found that a laborer gets $19.80 an hour, with overtime coming to $29.70. And if it's overtime, there must be a foreman present who's at $22.50 an hour and overtime at $33.75. That's where all of that comes from, and I'll let Councilman Licciardi discuss it.
Part of my reasoning behind this was, as I mentioned before, was to establish a recreation fund, which is to aid us in when we apply for a grant. It gives us strength. It also builds up to the course where, and money's tight everywhere, where recreation is always considered non-essential. So in talking with Freddie and Tony Duffy, you're looking at projects, equipment. I'm not talking like the $500 mower, or the trimmer. I'm talking big projects that we could take on possibly in the long run. But I'm not looking to charge everybody for everything. Anything that had a charge in it before, I just upped that $10. And whether it be, most of the leagues pay for it by game. So just instead of 40 a game, it became 50. 50 became 60. The wording is the same as it was in the last ordinance, where we had questions about regarding the dog licenses. But I want to make sure that goes into the recreation fund and not the general fund, because it should go back to recreation.
So what you want to say in here is, and Al, I thought I responded back to the email on Ray Silver Field especially. We put a lot of money into that field, and I see McCarthy Field at $125 a game, Ray Silver Field at $50 a game. Personally, in my opinion, we need to word something as in-town leagues, meaning recreational leagues, they get it for free, as they normally do. They get the normal permit. But these AAU leagues and all that are using it, it definitely should be more than $50 per game. It should be more like $75, and then if they're using lights, we ought to add a light charge to that. There was, in the original fees, a light fee in that fee itself. So same thing with McCarthy. McCarthy was $125 a game, and I think it's $145 for lights. I wish Tony was here that knew that expense.
I only put in what was being changed. In view of these comments, you're suggesting for Ray Silverfield, what, David?
75.
75.
We just made that a very nice field between the school department and school committee, and I'll actually say, with the credit of Jim Williamson, a few years back, really helped with that project to get that done. He was assistant middle school coach with Chris Kafua, and they really helped get that field. And I was also the president of Babe Ruth. And between the town employees and donations, Ken Townsend, we put over $100,000 in that field.
In view of your comments, and in view of the fact that there's a typographical error, I've got Amby Smithfield twice, that I got to change to McCarthy, may I suggest that this go over to the May meeting like the other stuff, and in the interim, I will go
And I-
send to all of you fees
And
and
I-
get your suggestions.
While we're looking at that, we need to get with Tony Duffy, because Amby Smith we should show what the true rate is. Again, we put $10 recreational fund surcharge, but we wanna make sure that if Amby Smith is $50 an hour now, and we're adding $10 surcharge to the recreation fund, I think it should be worded exactly the same exact way
As the dog
as the
was,
dog.
yeah.
So what we need to do is put the true price, and then $10 from
breakdown.
each rental goes into
I'll put it-
recreation fund.
I'll put an asterisk with an
I
explanation.
thought I responded, I apologize if I didn't.
I didn't get your response either.
Yeah, I had it all typed up, I don't know if it went into my drafts, because I didn't finish it, because I usually do emails at
All
1
right,
AM.
well, if we could push this one over to me, and then I'll work with you and Councilman Licciardi on it
Yeah.
to get the exact language on
And
it.
and that way there, and we gotta get with Tony Duffy and Freddie and go over the exact rates, that way there, it shows in here what the new rate is gonna be. That way
Right.
there, the lead comes in and says, oh, it says $10 here, I don't wanna get into that. So,
We also need to define what a commercial organization is.
yeah, and
Because
to
when
me,
you're
it's
talking AAU,
anybody
they could be all residents playing AAU.
anybody non-recreational, so AAU is a profit for a profitable
Business,
business.
commercial organization.
So, in my opinion, they should be paying commercial rates.
What did
not-
you just say, non-recreation?
Yeah, non-recreational leagues should be paying the proper rate.
Would they-
And the only ones that we did exempt was Connie Mack, because he's required to have all West Warwick residents on that team. Obviously, West Warwick, and the field is actually built by American Legion, so it's their field.
Table to me.
Jeez, Al, you wasted a plane ticket tonight.
Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2018-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 13, tobacco dealer's license and sales regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Al?
This came as a request from Paula, in that when we prepared the tobacco license ordinance, we had all licenses for 1 year from date of application. Paula said that the clerk's office would like to see them all expiring on the same day to make it easier for them to, on a given date, to send out all tobacco licenses.
And-
I arbitrarily took September 1st and said that your first license goes from whenever you get it till September 1st, and every license thereafter is for a year to September 1st.
So the only concern I have with that, and I agree with Paul, it makes it easier on the clerk's office that they're all done at once. If we're gonna set the date to September 1st,
Prorate?
what happens to the people who just renewed and then come September 1st? Are we gonna prorate?
You got your resolution coming up next.
All right, you answered that question. Any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Hey, you go one past tonight.
Fees and
You
charges,
don't care, he's
clerk's
going back to
department.
Florida.
Resolution?
Resolution, do I have a
I'll
motion?
move the resolution.
Second.
Your original resolution said that the original registration fee for a tobacco license would be $100. I just cut it down to $10 a month, and it's not in here, but the renewals are $25 a year.
Any questions on that? So it's actually a $20 raise.
Hmm?
It's a $20 increase then.
No, $20 loss.
No.
You want me to change it?
100 to 10
Went from 100 to $10 per month, I think that's
120.
120.
120, that's right, yeah.
So it's a
Made a
plus,
little money for the town.
Airfare's getting expensive.
keep charging the cigarettes, maybe we get them out of here. Any questions on that? And that includes e-cig and all that. I'm gonna look on something on that one. Any public comment? Hearing none. Jay, Jason,
Yes.
Angela?
It's a resolution, isn't it?
Yeah, just
Yes.
keep going. Jay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You done?
You're welcome, Al.
I thought cemeteries come up.
Wait, what?
Until cemeteries come up.
Al, why, you want a plot? Look, you almost fell over that one.
Stay on your feet.
Appointment of town moderator. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as the town moderator.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Councilman D'Amico reached out to me. You know, we don't have a moderator now that John retired, and Councilman D'Amico took it amongst himself to reach out to our current judge and ask him if he would moderate this year's financial town meeting, and he did say he would do it. So, I don't know if anybody has any discussion. Does anybody have anybody else or anything that? So, just gonna move the name.
Move the name of Norman Landroche.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment for the West Warwick Planning Board. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Planning Board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire July 2020.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Jessica, I'd like to move the name of Jessica Rubery. She reached out to me. She's been a lifelong resident here. She's actually an aspiring attorney, and she does work on many different projects, including land evidence. So she was talking to me about it, and she'd like to be more involved in the community. So I'd move the name of Jess Rubery.
I second.
Any other comment? Public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Jess. I think you're watching.
Appointment for the West Warwick Board of Assessment and Review. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Board of Review for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire March 2019.
I'll move the resolution,
Second.
and I'll
Moved and
move the
seconded.
name of Jerry Light. Jerry's been coming to quite a bit of meetings. I guess he just didn't know which board he wanted to be on, so I guess he picked one now. But I think he'd be a good asset to the town. He's got some experience with properties, so I think he'd be a good pick.
I second.
Does that give a full board?
I think it does at this point. Any other comment?
Maybe we'll get another opinion on the board instead of always siding with certain individuals.
Any other public comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Is Jerry here tonight?
Nope.
No. Congratulations, Jerry, if you're home watching.
Appointment for the West Warwick Pension Board. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the West Warwick Pension Board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire November 18, 2021.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
I'll move the name of Fred Gill.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sure you got time for this, Freddie?
Yeah, snow season's done, you know, so.
You telling us you're doing nothing up there? Is that what you're saying? You got too much time on your hands? You want more?
All right, any other discussion?
That's not a paid position, is it?
Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Good luck, Freddie.
Town manager's report.
Yes, I have two items. First is that we'll be advertising for Chief Barris's position, Fire Chief. It'll be advertised very shortly for the month of April, with all the intention of having a recommendation to the council sometime in June. It'll be advertised in the Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Association, Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, the State Department of Labor and Labor website, as well as one of the commercial sites, I think, Indeed. So it'll get out there. In a position like that, word of mouth, will travel fast. So we'll be doing that. And my plan would be is to have an internal committee review the resumes and pick individuals to be interviewed. That would be, and then a recommendation to myself, which would ultimately be recommendation or recommendations to the council. The committee would be myself, Mark Carullo, Chief Barris, and Karen Ciaffi. So we would be reviewing, interviewing, and then making recommendations to the council. It would be my recommendation to the council.
Any questions for the manager on that? That's one, what's the other?
The other is Friday is a closing date for our minimum housing inspector, so that's a position we want to try to move fast on because of the importance of the position, so,
Any
that will be
applications?
expedited.
Any applications?
I believe there are 14 as of now,
Impressive.
so and that's it.
Can the council see some of those applications?
If you want them, we can look.
Yeah, I'd like to look at them.
So in the meantime, we just go to provide any issues we have to the clerk, correct? In the building official's office, sorry.
Yes, yeah, right now, she's, making a list, and we're trying to, triage those,
We
what's
do have
really the most important
We
thing.
do have somebody that's filling in part-time
Yes,
correctly
yeah,
now for
helping
mental
out,
housing.
but we're triaging those, for
Yeah.
the most important things. So again, this is a very critical position, so hopefully, and we will be moving fast on review, interviewing, and selecting the
Okay.
position.
Thanks.
Any questions for Ernie?
Yeah, I just want to sneak something in under his hand. We don't have water reports, so I'll sneak it under Ernie's. A few months back, it went by the wayside, speed limits, and Al looked up the ordinance. And I know Tim said something had to be done with the state to lower the speed limits in plats, like Brookfield Plat, River Farms, not River Farms, Hilltop, Tanglewood, all them where we could lower them speed limits because the 25 miles an hour is fast. So Al, you said that we don't have to go through the state, that we can
Well,
do
yeah,
this?
The way I read the statute is that,
I had it and I forgot
yeah,
it
I
home.
didn't know it was coming up.
I didn't
that-
either, I
that
just
It
remembered.
says an engineer or a traffic study, and it was we can have different opinions. My opinion was that if the council makes a request and sends it to the traffic committee, and the traffic committee does a study on it, then we can lower it. If it gets contested, it goes to the municipal court. But,
So what's my next step?
I think that it
Well,
could,
I think the issue is whether or not anything off of a state road is considered under the statute that you provided me when you guys had discussed it.
that's where you and I disagree.
Right, because my opinion, 117 is a state road, anything that off of that is a town road or a city road, depending on what side you're on. It's not an offshoot of a state road. If it is an offshoot of a state road, and then, I mean, there's.
If it's an offshoot, but you and I disagreed.
I
for
think,
ex-
I think possibly, I don't think
Look-
DOT is gonna wanna get
No,
involved.
for example, my basic opinion is that I think if we do it, we're not gonna get challenged.
Right.
I just say
Or,
we do all the streets to 20.
No,
All
you-
side streets,
you
20
can't.
miles an hour.
That's what it should be.
No, you can't.
Well, I hate to sit
Well-
there, well, this is my issue with this, Al, is, and this is where I haven't discussed, so for instance, Bridge Street, all right? Are we gonna go and pick and choose it makes it easier for the resident. If I'm on Bridge Street, I know it's 20 miles an hour.
But that-
Now, I go on Providence Street or a non-state road, we'll go down, give me a side road on your one.
Hilltop.
Hilltop, well, that's 25, I can go 20, to me, the person has to sit there and think, what road am I on, what's the speed limit? Are we gonna post all these, are we gonna expense all these signs on roads to say
your-
20 miles an hour here, 25
Your
there,
problem,
30
Dave-
here?
Your
Gee,
problem,
what?
David, is the state statute. The state statute says that the minimum you can have is 25. If you want to go below that, you've got to have either an engineer or a traffic study for that street.
But you just contradicted what you said, because you said that you didn't need the state statute to go lower to Andrew.
Can I make a
By
suggestion?
having the traffic committee do the study and make the recommendation to the council
So,
that they
why
believe that on
can't-
this street,
So let me ask you this, why can't we tell the traffic committee we
to do
want
the whole town.
every side street studied and come back with the recommendation?
Can I,
Because it-
can I make a
if you think
suggestion?
anybody's gonna buy that.
Here's what the problem is. Anybody that
saying.
anybody that gets into a car accident, and God forbid if it's a fatality or very serious injuries, who are they gonna sue in addition to the person that hit them? They're gonna sue the town, because if the town screws around with the speed limits without doing it the right way, the town's gonna be liable. My suggestion would be is simply do it if there are, I don't know, how many streets and roads do we have in West Warwick? Roughly. Freddie, any idea? Non-state roads.
let's say there's 200, let's say there's 200, say there's 250.
At least.
But there's 250 that have speed limits ranging from A to B to C to D. If you uniformly change all those, and there's trouble, I mean, I think we just go to the DOT, send them a letter saying, this is what the town wants to do. Are you gonna send the engineers down to give us what we need to change these speed limits? They're gonna say no.
If you're gonna do it like David is suggesting,
There's over
with-
400 out, I just looked
Okay.
on the map in the.
Okay, if
But if you
you're
do a
gonna-
uniform, I mean, my
It-
concern is you do what you want, but if there's a situation where somebody gets into an accident and the town has not handled it the right way, they're gonna become looking at the town.
I'm in agreement with you, and I think that if you're gonna do it a lot more than that, as opposed to specific streets, then I think you do have to go first to the state and get the approval of it. For example, if you were taking just Brookfield Hills, and I use that only because I grew up there, if you wanted to say that a speed limit on Crosland Road would in effect, in my opinion, and it's been changed since the 50s, you know, have a big effect on speed in that area. And you're just taking that. If you're gonna do it the way you're saying, David, then I think
Any
you have to
enabling legislation.
follow that statute to the letter.
So, and again, I'm gonna go right down, I'm gonna look, West, Goff, Harris, Youngs, Woodside,
We didn't draw the
Green
statute.
Street. So I have to put an ordinance for every single
No,
one of them?
if you said, for example, if there's 400 streets and counting the plats, Angelo stuff, out of all 5 wards, say 300 of them are 25 miles per hour, and you wanted to reduce it to 20 or to 15 for safety purposes. Now, given the extent of the road, how wide it is, if there's sidewalks, if there's parking lot, not parking lot, someone's gonna come in and say, okay, you can or you can't do it. But if you wanna do it as a uniform issue for every town road that's 25 miles an hour to drop it 5 or 10 miles per hour, I think you're gonna have to go to the General Assembly, seek enabling legislation that says, listen, basically all of our 5 wards. the
Yeah,
streets-
I don't wanna go through that. I mean,
because
I got a plot, I don't have streets, like, I'm not gonna make River Street 15 miles an
That's
hour,
right.
even though it
Right.
should be made 10. I'm talking about a plat where you're just getting in. 15 miles per hour speed limit. That covers the 40 roads that are in that plat. And it goes to a dead end and a cul-de-sac, it turns around, it comes back. I'm not talking about
Okay,
making.
my opinion on that one is that if you as a councilman made the reference to the traffic committee and said to the traffic committee, study Brookfield Hills.
But they gotta do all 40
They
roads.
gotta do all 40 roads.
Right.
And then they can come back and say, okay, we recommend all 40 roads be 20 miles an hour. They send it to me, give you the ordinance, that at the time, off the top of my head, I'd probably wanna list all the streets, but to make it clear, but that's the way you could
The
do it.
two problem places I'm having right now, and I know they don't have enough police officers to patrol there, and the chief's always been great, he sent someone down. The two most vocal ones with the constituents is Hilltop, they're flying down, and Brookfield, they're flying. I haven't got any other complaints from any, I'm sure once this is done, I probably will have, but it's,
It would be a lot easier to do what David wants, but that's not what the
Yeah.
statute lets us do.
But also, you're gonna need something more than the Traffic Safety Commission saying, we make a recommendation. They're gonna have some hard facts.
They're gonna have to have the facts
To back
on it.
it
Oh,
up, which
yeah.
means they're gonna have to do a traffic study, they're gonna have to
Yeah.
do measurements,
Yes.
they're gonna have to do all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah. It's a-
Parking, no parking, sidewalks, no sidewalks.
Whereas,
So-
I think if they, for example, let's just use Crosland Road again. If they came in and just did the normal thing that they do, they meet with the Public Works, they meet with all of the police chief and what have you, and they say, look, on this street, we put speed limits out, and we see it's dangerous. I think if you did one, you'd get away with it. If you do the whole thing.
You need
I gotta-
quantitative analysis,
I
which is
gotta-
gonna cost money.
I gotta say that you're gonna have to go along with what Tim says, that you gotta do the proper job, because the chances are, if you do the whole plat, then you're gonna get the attorney that's gonna go in, and is gonna make some money challenging it. Whereas if it's just Crosland Road, he's probably not gonna waste his time.
all right, and the other thing I have is, Chief, Grandview, again, I'm getting a bunch of complaints. The bus company, I know the bridge is closed, but what they're doing, they're cutting up instead of going out of,
To Main Street. to
Main Street to Wakefield, I know they're using the road on Wakefield, you can't stop them there, we're letting that slide, but what they're doing again, they're cutting through them plats, the construction companies, I know you talked to all the business, the mattress company, the bus company. Could you, again, please inform them that to stay off Grandview and them side streets over there? Because I know it worked for quite a while and now all hell broke loose since the bridge.
Absolutely, and when we,
I got more to say than the manager
it's
right now.
okay. The last meeting, that we did talk that, we went down there, they were very cooperative and they were doing
Yeah.
the right thing now with the bridge. And we did tell them that they could use Wakefield Street for the time being, but we'll make sure that they go
Just
Main
take
to
that right
Wakefield.
instead of
Yep.
cutting up there, and I mean,
I'll have
you're getting them
someone-
trucks and buses on top of that hill all hours of the night, 2, 3.
That's- yeah,
The
we'll have
buses,
someone
2,
reach out
3
to-
o'clock in the morning, through that neighborhood.
Safety issue without a
Yeah,
doubt.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, can I get
Yeah, of course.
question answered since we're butting
You
into
wanna-
the
you wanna get
manager's
into
report
this
and you're
too,
up
huh?
here? Can I just have an update on what's going on in the ward as far as, I'm getting reports of car break-ins, silly string issues, somebody's spraying things with silly string, I'm getting reports of mailboxes being hit. Are you getting these reports?
Yeah, we had, I
The
wanna
senior
say,
pranks.
I'm guessing Saturday, I can't remember the exact day, but we had a rash of, people going into cars, people tampering with cars in the Crompton area. So we did receive some reports, we don't receive all of them. But I did also see some of it on Facebook. And I know, one of the pages had it and our offices responded. And we put something on our
Did see
Facebook
that.
page about locking your cars and
Yeah. I
keeping
saw that.
valuables out and what have you.
Okay. We didn't catch anybody?
Not yet.
No, okay.
Your kid a senior?
No, not yet.
Ask him about senior pranks, that's where the egg and the silly string and everything else coming from. Just, one year now, it happens every year, right around this time, right till June.
Fizzy's in the pool.
I was in the library, I don't know why they would be doing that.
Yeah.
I was in church.
You're studying to be a police officer, right, Chief?
No, I would never,
Thank you.
never damaged anyone's property.
No, I understand. But that's what's going on. Not just our seniors, it's other towns too.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Finance oh, do you have another thing?
Nope.
Finance report?
Good evening, counselors. In front of you is a summary of our revenues and expenses year-to-date as of February. You didn't get it? I sent it to
on.
Paula.
Oh, it's on the,
Yeah,
that's my fault.
Okay.
I usually get it.
15.
Expenses are starting to pick up. In just the last week alone, we paid about $1.6 million in debt service. We are still trending towards a deficit. Some of our revenues are trending a little bit higher, you can see in the detail. Some other highlights are we're having our tax sale on May 10th, which is also driving up collections. And also collections for fourth quarter are in full swing. And I also wanted to mention that if there are any budget ideas that any of you have, email Ernie or myself, and then we can run some numbers and kind of work with you to see if we can come up with some cost-saving ideas.
All right, so if we can, again, look at the tax rates for each unit.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, the tiered tax system, obviously. The other thing that was brought to our attention, we're probably gonna need some extra time for next, budget meeting, which would be the public. Any changes that we did make, we didn't get an updated version of the budget. So we would want if we cut anything, put anything in, I know we added some stuff, we took some stuff out through our budget workshops.
I didn't think anything was voted on. So I thought tonight and next week were when you were gonna vote on changes.
So
So the first change was tonight.
the next meeting, we're gonna need longer than an hour, because we're gonna go line by line now, once again. Then we'll get the changes, we'll vote, the council can vote on it, and if you have an idea.
Wait, I thought you said we want to vote on Tuesday.
No, not Tuesday, but the fall, we'll have one more meeting after Tuesday.
We're gonna have one hearing and then one meeting.
But if you have any ideas or cuts that you'd
No, I
like
will,
to
but I just want
see,
to make sure we're not voting.
email
yeah.
it to the council, I can, we're gonna have to propose those cuts and vote on those cuts. So you're
So
not
when
gonna
is
be
the-
here?
Yeah, that's why I clarified this, like,
What day are you leaving?
I'm not gonna be back till the Wednesday, that's why I clarified this before, I thought it was just the second
Maybe we
public
should
hearing.
move the public hearing to one extra, a day later.
I know, well, Angel can't do Wednesday though, right?
It's scheduled for the 10th, right, which is next Tuesday?
That's why I had mentioned this like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, well,
When do you wanna move it?
Thursday
The 12th,
at 6 o'clock?
I won't be here. I'm
Tell you, Wednesdays and Thursdays are tough for me.
Unless we move it the following Tuesday.
I still won't be here. I'm away the 12th through I come back at 12:30 at night on the Tuesday. We had discussed that.
Oh, then we have vacation week. Is anybody going away for vacation week?
I'm not going anywhere.
That's, from,
That's the Tuesday you're coming back?
correct.
That's why I mentioned it before too, I didn't wanna miss that.
What about Monday, having a meeting Monday?
She's not gonna be here. This Monday?
This
The
coming
9th,
Monday,
I'm
yeah.
here.
No, I'm
He's
away,
not gonna be
I'm
here.
not gonna be, yeah, that's why I had mentioned that before when we planned the dates, so I wouldn't miss, I thought it was just the second, public hearing, I didn't think we were gonna be voting on anything.
What about the Tuesday and Wednesday?
This Tuesday? Next week, he's not gonna be
I'll
here.
be
He'll
back
in
the
New Orleans.
11th, yeah, I'm leaving Thursday morning, I'll be back the 11th.
So if we had the 12th, that would work, right? Or you're going away?
I leave at 6 a.m. on the 12th. I
What's
could
the
do the
11th?
11th.
That's,
I'm having surgery, and I'm waiting. I'll know tomorrow when it's going to be next week.
We can't Monday
But
anyway.
most
We
likely
got
it's
the
going to be
Sons
Wednesday,
of Italy.
Thursday, or Friday.
Sons of Italy Monday, so we can't do that.
Not enough time to advertise. Anybody looking at their calendars?
I am.
You could do a Saturday or a Sunday.
Saturday morning? Saturday morning. Saturday morning.
You never get everybody here on Saturday.
So you're going away the 12th to the
17th.
17th.
Mhm.
You're going away what?
I'll be back Wednesday. I'll be back by the 11th. I mean, we can't do it tomorrow, I'll be back the 11th.
Can we do Wednesday the 11th?
I won't know until, I count on it being here for Tuesdays, so I schedule
That's what I
my
figured.
life around the Tuesday meeting, so.
Yeah, and I know I clarified it when we set up the dates, like, I thought it was just gonna be like the second, end of the second public hearing last year was just, I didn't know we were voting on anything, I thought it was the second public hearing.
We've never voted anything on public hearing,
Correct, that's why I clarified that at the time.
but again,
We're not voting on anything Tuesday.
well, that's the thing, for instance, say you wanna cut recreation department right out. Well, the council needs to vote on that and say yes or no, and then Krista needs that direction. So, at that point, we need to look at that. Now, if there's only 4 of us here, that could be an issue. Because individual may agree with you or disagree with you on that cut. And as a councilman, I believe you represent your constituents, that everybody should have a fair say. If you're not gonna, I don't think it's fair if you can't be here and we have a meeting,
No, I'm not.
and so,
The question of time just comes into play, that's all, right now.
I mean, when do we need to approve our budget by?
We need to have the ad in the paper for the state 10 days before the financial town meeting, so that would be
No, we got plenty of time.
4th.
No, it's not.
Wait, you have to have,
say plenty
you
of
have to have
time,
the
but
ad by May
By the
4th?
time everybody's
It has to
here.
be in the paper by May 4th,
When's up?
so
But
I
we'd
would
still
say
have-
we have to have this wrapped up by May 1st,
But we still have
to
to,
give me time to get it in
Prove it.
paper.
You gotta
Oh,
have
actually,
a
no,
ballot. You need a ballot too.
I need to send it to the state, so we really need to back that up more.
Yeah.
What is May 1st? What day is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
May 1st is a Tuesday.
So 30, 20,
We have a
27.
council meeting that night, so
Yeah.
this,
that's when we're gonna vote
we need to approve
approve.
on that budget. Yeah, because we need to approve that budget for May 1st to bring to the voters.
So I would say by the 27th.
Can we
So
meet the
gives me time to do
23rd?
it.
23rd or 24th?
When's your
What's
son's
that?
video? Every Monday?
No, second Monday of the month.
So can we meet the 23rd?
That's on a Monday?
Correct.
I don't have a problem with
So what
that.
time is
The
that? 6?
24th is a council meeting, 23rd is a public hearing.
We did 6
Now, we can have the public hearing next week, or whatever, it's actually scheduled for what? When is the next public hearing?
Yeah, it is. It's the 10th.
And we can go through line items then and let the public discuss those line items. But we as a council should be having another meeting, the 23rd,
6 o'clock.
to go through our final budget meeting, 6 o'clock. Any cuts or anything, that gives you about 7 days, no, 1,
Well, less
2,
than that.
3, 4, 5, 6 to get it ready for the 1st.
I need
For-
to send it to the state. I have to send it to Rudy at the Department of Municipal Affairs to approve the ad and everything. So if we meet on the 23rd and finalize on the 23rd, gives me a day to update all my schedules, get it to Rudy, and then Suzanne Greshner has to approve, and they email us back the
So
letter.
they be ready, so the next question I have, will that be ready for Tuesday, May 1st, to be voted on as a council overall?
Yeah,
To
Rudy,
bring-
as long, so 23rd's a Monday, as long as I get it to Rudy by, I don't know, say end of day on Tuesday, they can turn it around pretty quick usually, within a couple of days. So yes.
Okay. So budget meeting 6 PM, Monday, April 23rd,
April
correct?
23rd.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kristen?
And again, if you have any ideas or thoughts that you may need some assistance quantifying, you could either email Kristen or myself, so if we can help, define costs or something, certainly we'd be willing to do that.
Thank you, Kristen.
Discussion action, historical cemetery, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
I won't take too much time on this, but it came to my attention. I was asked a lot of questions about one of the historical cemeteries in my ward, going back last summer and fall, and I started asking questions. I met with Dave Lombardi and Mark Carullo several times about this, and to my surprise, there's a procedure and there's a book that's like this thick of how to take care of an historical cemetery. And I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I know they're in all of our wards. And
Did you get a call, any other council people get a call from Calvin? He's in charge, they put him in charge of all the historical cemeteries. And
In
he
West
has a
Warwick?
big crew. He called me, I have his card and I forgot to bring it tonight. They want to take care of all the cemeteries. Matter of fact, he was supposed to be here tonight, Calvin. I didn't see any strange faces. So,
I haven't got any of those.
I haven't got any.
I have the connection,
All right.
so
But
that ends that.
again, I know, same thing, like, I know it's a certain time of year you're allowed to go in, do whatever, and,
But I got the call a week ago, and he dropped off his card at my business, I wasn't there.
All right.
bring that. Yeah, try
Remind
to
me,
get that to us, yeah.
Yeah.
Curiosity, does the town have a historic cemetery commission?
We used to,
Yeah.
but it got abolished.
No, it didn't.
Well, it's still there, but it got
Yeah.
abolished. The
The-
individuals, Councilwoman Gustafson was here when
Yeah.
it was happening. It got abolished by the council, and because at the time, there was one on Church Street that was being done by Mr. Cambio, and he was happy to take it over. And then we abolished that committee, and then the town employees took it over. And that, becomes very stressful, especially during the summertime, to try to keep up with it, with everything else, because of construction, drainage and everything else that they've been working on. So, even though it's still there, we don't have a committee, it got abolished. That committee
Does the-
actually got thrown
Right.
to the curb,
Since we're in the update,
unfortunately.
does the council want to leave that in, or does the council
I'd
want?
leave it there, because now we're gonna talk to this guy, maybe
Well,
we
do we wanna
can give him some
reestablish
kind of
a
help.
committee?
Right,
Well, it might just reestablish one
Yeah.
group, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's why, we're gonna
Yeah,
talk to him first. but he
the
was
the
very-
ordinance specifies who and how and everything.
I want to check the statute too, and just make sure that the abolishment is okay. 'Cause I think there's a state statute on it.
I'll look into it. And report in the December.
Can we put a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit there?
And I'll let you know May 1st.
All right.
Kent County Water, sponsored by Council President Goslin?
Ernie, we have a representative from West Warwick that's been put on that board, Kent County Water, Bob Boyer and Frank Giorgio. One thing that's happened is businesses I've been getting calls, I know Angelo, you've gotten visits, from individuals that Kent County Water is threatening to shut them off. And I brought this up last week, and I called you on a couple. All Stars Bar and Grill was one. They were gonna shut off the sprinkler system, but they were able to stay open, which now affects the patrons. It makes it unsafe. Chief Barris has been very cordial in trying to work with them. But we need to get with Kent County Water and make sure that we're not sitting here putting businesses in harm's way, per se, or patrons in harm's way. And to make sure that we're working, and there's a person there, I forgot the lady's name, everybody seems to tell me her name, and she's been very adamant about getting this done, or else and when they call the talk and say, I got a plumber, they're ordering the parts, this is when it's gonna be, too bad you're getting shut off Wednesday. Well, wait a minute, I'm in the process of trying to get this done, the guy can't come until a certain date, and now you're telling me you're gonna shut it off. And I know Chief has intervened with a few of them, and he's helped out, those businesses, but again, why are we need to get with Kent County Water and say, why are we, if we're not we need to work with them. So, you know, there's no need for a business to sit there and sweat it out thinking they're gonna get shut off Wednesday, when realistically, we can work with them and they're trying to get it done. Now, again, if it's somebody who's taken a year, 2 years, 3 years, I mean, All Star shared with me his $12,000 expense was thrown at him by surprise via a registered letter. Now, if he knew about that, he wanted to put the new floors in, knew this, knew that, and spend his money, he would have put the money towards capital and fixing the, and then I drive by and I see under new ownership. It's like, we just forced this guy out. Right. You know,
He
based
sold it?
upon, it says under new ownership, but on the, you know, I can give him I haven't talked to him yet, but I drove by it the other day, I saw under new ownership, I thought about calling him, I just haven't had a chance. But, and if that's one of the reasons, I mean, you know, the other one was Creative Bronze. I mean, he's doing his best down there, he's getting it done, he just needs time.
You know, they're talking, it's $8,000 to $15,000, when, then they made them put in $24,000 before that. I mean, they're talking, you know, thousands of dollars, like it's, I think they've been drinking too much of that water.
Councilman, have you been getting new people?
No.
No, because I haven't heard
The
of
last
any.
one was Creative Bronze, and that was about 3 weeks ago, and I told him I was gonna bring this up at a council meeting. I missed, I
What
forgot to put it
address,
on the
what
last
address
agenda.
is that? Because a lot of them I have
Boyer
addresses.
stopped it. We
Brayton?
called Boyer. Boyer stopped them from shutting them
Well,
off.
yeah, we brought in the state fire marshal, the interim state fire marshal. We sat down at the Kent County Water Board. Yes, you're correct. They sent those letters out, spur of the moment. We said, listen, if you shut them down, now they become our problem for life safety. So, there was a handful, Alzino has gone to these businesses also. As long as they get Kent County a plan that it's gonna be done, they'll lay off. And I think most of the people we talked to have done that. I haven't heard anybody else.
I haven't heard nothing in 3 weeks.
No, I haven't either.
So, maybe it's been resolved, so I'll just drop it there.
I haven't heard anything else since, so.
Thank you.
CDBG annual application proposed activities PY 17, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
I'm going to let Elaine Mansour take over this. She's the head of the CDBG program, which brings in quite a bit of money to this town, which people don't realize.
Elaine?
You're up.
So I sent out an email to all of you letting you know the changes to this year's application. We are limited in the amount of infrastructure projects that we can apply for. It's a maximum of 3 at $500,000 per project. So I got a couple of responses, one from Dave Goslin, one from Jason Licciardi. Some of them are eligible, some aren't. I'm sure you all read the emails, but I really need something definitive of what you all want to apply for. I'm already behind schedule because I had to wait for this meeting, so I need to really push forward. Jason's suggestion was Church Street. It certainly is eligible, and I've asked Freddie Gill to get me some pretty solid quotes on repaving and replacement of the existing sidewalks. And, David, you had sent me a couple of projects,
I
that were
sent you
eligible,
Phoenix Ave.
and others that weren't.
So
So,
I think,
Phoenix,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Phoenix Ave is eligible up to Elbow
Elbow
Street,
Street, yeah.
and that's actually in a 68% low mod, so that is a pretty good project if you want to go forward with that. Goff Avenue, you had said drainage, paving, and
Sidewalk.
sidewalks. And again, that's in a 79% low mod, so that's also a viable project.
And Fred, and if I'm correct, Freddie met with Cardy or whoever were ready to get some ballpark estimates.
Yeah, just,
And I also had Bridge Street. I also put in Bridge Street.
yeah,
And he had
so
that one. I don't know if that's,
you'd have to pick and choose, cause I only have 3 that I can go with, so Church is gonna be one, cause that's a pretty main thoroughfare.
Yep.
You gotta pick
you know,
2 of
those are,
those
those are
other
all,
3.
that's what we need to decide as a council, because they're all thoroughfares. Bridge Street is like a main artery, even though we gotta get East Main done through the state. Bridge Street's a main artery. Goff Avenue's had a lot of drainage issues along with paving. That's a main artery. And Phoenix Ave's a main artery, and Church Street's a main artery. So, you know, I don't know.
And in Ward 1, Elaine, I can't read that thing. I know they took Natick almost all out of it.
Well,
Is-
I mean, Natick is still eligible for home repairs, but as far as the block groups, it really has shrunk. And that's really no control, you know, from us. That's just how the census played out.
Now, what parts can be fixed in 1 that is eligible for?
Yeah, you were just
Up
bragging,
front.
all your roads are great, so.
They are. They are. The best in town. Go count them. There's not one road
You
that's
got
not
plenty of
paved.
water, I know, between the water company and,
You know, there's some areas off of Wakefield Street, but they're really more in David's ward than yours.
Well, if they, I mean, I'm not
a lot of
gonna,
them.
we're not
been
gonna
done off
lose the
Wakefield
money.
Street, like, the only one that hasn't, I think, is Betez. Smith has been done.
Nothing up Tanglewood area, right?
All those dead ends have been done through Dave Lombardi and
It's
the
just
road.
not eligible anymore.
Me personally, I like to see Phoenix Ave and
Oh,
go.
I know Pond Street and Pond Street in my ward is like pretty horrendous.
And I did talk to Freddie about Pond Street. We do have some existing Arctic infrastructure money that we were going to put toward a Crescent Street project, and then we had to put the kibosh on that project. So there's a possibility that we can use funding for Pond Street.
Is there anything off of Cohasset that qualifies?
Nope.
In my ward?
No.
It doesn't qualify.
Welcome to Ward
I'd like to
5.
do Lunsdale.
So as far as Church Street goes, Elaine, I know I had asked you a bunch of questions. Could you put in for Church Street and then a couple of streets that come off of Church, or is just one street?
If we're gonna gear it towards a project, if Church Street would be the project.
Okay. I definitely, I mean, I went through the ward, I spoke with Freddie on some things.
Church really that bad?
It is, and I have road bond money left as well, which I'm trying to couple if we don't get enough to do the Church
And you
Street
also have
project,
some
CDBG
CDBG.
money. And Church Street's a long road.
And all my road bond money is stuck in the
So how much
the
money,
flooding
let me
project.
ask you this. Freddie, did you get a price on Church Street?
Not yet, I should be getting it this week.
So what we wanna see is if he has money not used and he can use it towards Church Street, and we have other areas that he can, and he has enough money to do Church Street, then why don't we look at other areas also? Because I know we as a council, no offense to you,
Yeah,
Jay.
I'm gonna argue with this, so.
I'm gonna argue with
Yeah.
you because Angelo and I took our federal money for Phoenix Avenue and gave it to Ward 4 to do the crossings and put all the sidewalks in. So,
That was very nice of you, I was on the council then.
I understand, but,
I had nothing else. We had nothing else
no,
we could do.
we had Phoenix Avenue,
Right.
but we said, at that point, we looked at, and that's why I'm saying, if you got money available already with CDBG money that haven't been used, I like to know those dollar amounts, and if you have CDBG money that can go towards Church Street, let's get the new projects done.
Right, what I'm saying is I have other intent on using that money as well.
Oh, we all have
So,
intent.
so
on
what I'm
using
saying
money.
is you requested 3 projects, correct? Okay,
That's
I,
not my decision.
no,
that's
I
the
know, I know,
state's decision.
but you requested 3 projects.
Because in the past.
I
we've
put
had-
in for 1, you put in for 2, did anybody else put in for anything?
Not as of today.
So here's our 3 projects right there. I did my homework,
I did mine.
I didn't know
So-
there was a statute of limitations on it.
so,
Do we have to put this in writing or is it
Nice
verbal?
try, Jay.
I'd like you to look into Pond Street for me, please.
well, you need an answer by tonight,
I did put in my email.
correct?
That I needed definitive answers tonight. I certainly can get pricing from Freddie. Freddie and I have already talked about Pond Street. And Jason and I talked about, he does have existing CDBG funding in-house.
Mhm.
And we did talk about possibly using that for Church Street. You know,
But again, if there's
normally-
if that CDBG money's there and you use it for Church Street, we can pick another project.
and I also.
I have another project I'm picking with that money.
Stop being a pig.
I'm not. Elaine
All right,
asked
come on,
us
it's
to
getting
do this.
So
I
where the
did-
problem comes in is last year, we applied for X amount of funds for infrastructure projects, whether it be Crompton, Phoenix, or Arctic. If that money is still sitting here and that project didn't get off the ground, we're not gonna get subsequent funding for that same area.
Right.
Now, the 2016 grant was just awarded a couple of months ago, so they're not taking that into consideration. But if there's 2015 money on the books, and there will be a problem if we have it for Crompton and we try to reapply for Crompton.
Right.
Because they're gonna look at it and they're gonna say, you already have it, you didn't spend it, why are you asking for more?
And it's not enough for church. So I can't do half of it with that money. So
But
that's
in all
already.
fairness, we don't know if it's enough or not, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah, we don't have a quote.
Right, but I mean, in talking to Freddie, I think we're gonna be way off with that number, so.
And then the other thing is, and I know I said the Brayton Street drainage. Elaine, when you said that we have to do so many studies and this and that, we just spent $75,000 couple of years ago to do these studies on Brayton Street.
We did a Brayton Street drainage study, of which we got federal money for, awarded, and never got the reimbursement. And we hounded them for the reimbursement, and to date, we still don't have it, and I can guarantee you we're not gonna get it. And I don't have an answer why. Mark Carullo stepped in, tried to get us the money, they never sent it to us. It was only a small amount, I think it was 15,000, and we put in $10,000 of CDBG planning money.
Yep.
Which we reallocated from another project. But when those results came back, primarily the drainage problem was coming from the state roads. So at the time, Jim Thomas said, oh, we're not gonna touch that state drainage problem. But in reality, there is something that we probably could do for that mill from Main Street down. But the project's not ready to go. You know, there's no engineering done on it, we don't have any plans. Certainly, if you wanted to look at that, you all
Well,
should start
I've
doing
been requesting it
engineering
for-
now
I've
and
been
get it ready to go.
If
and
Steve
apply
Busy
for
was
it
here
next
right now,
year.
he'd be going ballistic because he and I.
Well, because he came to the last planning board meeting when we talked about the stormwater utility plan.
Oh, God, yeah.
And he and he's been on talking to me about it for 4 or 5 years now, if not longer. And I know we've been going on and on and on with this. And then when I hear there's nothing planned, I'm like, well, how can it be absolutely nothing planned? But again, we could talk about that offline.
Yeah.
And just so you'll all be aware, we also can apply for 2 public service activities. One is gonna be the senior center that we apply for on an annual basis. The other is Cornerstone, adult daycare. They service West Warwick residents, and each nonprofit in the state can only submit 1 application for CDBG. So Cornerstone has asked West Warwick to submit on a regional basis, which we did for them last year as well.
Okay. So you have 3 projects ready.
So we're gonna do Phoenix Ave,
Goff,
Goff,
Church.
and Church. And then I will look at Pond Street for you for existing money.
Can I ask you one more question with
Yep.
this? All right, you said 500,000 is it total or is it per
Per
project?
project.
Okay, so if I get allocated, I'm just gonna throw out numbers, say $200,000 for Church Street, and I only use like 150, can I give that 50,000
No.
to, no, okay.
No, and what happens is
That's why they want the estimates.
I will get an estimate from Freddie, and that's the amount that we're gonna apply for. And even though they have eliminated the cap of what we can apply for as a whole, don't get excited because the state doesn't have any more money than they had last year.
Okay.
So we're not gonna get any more money than we've gotten in the past.
Okay.
In fact, we may get significantly less.
Thanks, Elaine.
Be back to all of you with final application for your approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Upcoming appointments, planning board, one, an alternate member with a term to expire July 2020. Technology committee, one with a term to expire 12/31/18. Sewer use tax board of review, one alternate member with a term to expire 10/21. Pension board, one with term to expire 11/18/21. Board of assessment and review, one with a term to expire 3/2019. West Warwick Public Library trustees, one term to expire 2/2021. Board of Tenant Affairs, one term to expire 3/2020. Public, one term to expire 4/2018. Public, one to expire 4/2018. Clyde Towers, one to expire 4/2018. West Warwick Manor. Public comment, comments will only be addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectable fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested.
I need 30 seconds to close the AgCon.
Jay?
I'd like to my family put a lot of time and effort into this. Stuffing 150 bags of candy, giving out 150 prizes to the kids. I heard all positive remarks. I didn't hear any negative at all. People spent a lot of the time with the nonprofit groups, which was a good thing. Lori Swanson was a big help that day from the Civic Center. President Goslin was there at the event helping out. There were a total of 220 kids in attendance and over 550 total people at different times throughout the morning. I knew there's a cap on the Civic Center. And I'm looking to expand that event for next year. So thank you very much to everybody that was a part of it.
Great job.
Good job.
Good job, Jay.
Do we have a Times reporter anymore?
She got married.
She get lost in Coventry or
does-
something?
No, she watches the videos very
You do it for
closely.
the video.
She watches online, so I,
That's because you're here.
no, but she does, she watches very closely online.
Quickly, I want to say the Earth Day cleanup is the April 14th? 14th.
So there's a
April
couple,
14th.
there's a couple of different Earth Day cleanups. Stan Britson from the Patuxent River Authority, is having one on the
21st.
21st or the 14th?
It's 21st. Arctic Village is doing the 14th.
And that's for River Point Park on the outskirts of, the John Rock River Walk.
He's up to 3 dozen people.
Yeah, he's got a lot of people. We're also looking to get in touch with the biking group that uses that facility and see if they can give us a helping hand. So that's a good thing. I also have an envelope here with a bunch of free tickets to the circus if anybody wants them for their kids or grandkids or whoever. Also, I have one quick thing. I received an invitation to Rhode Island Kids Count Breakfast. Ironically, it's marked March 16th. I had to give an RSVP by March 23rd. We're a little late for that, but I'm just wondering why. I always give
I've
permission to
never seen
open.
it, yeah.
I give permission to open my mail, especially if it's time sensitive, to look at it. If it's time sensitive, to get it to me. But I have been here a couple of times since March 16th. I should have gotten this.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before. I usually open your
just-
mail.
Just for, and I've always given permission to open my mail. And, that just kind of stinks that we can't even respond to it. That's all I have. Also, this will be on the next agenda, but we got a couple of thank you cards from the Messier family. I haven't opened them yet, but they'll be on the correspondence also. Any other public comment? Derek? Just state your name and address for the record.
My name's Derek Reed, 62 Andrews Ave, just got off a plane. But I wanted to just come here and ask, I know I spoke to Ernie a couple times, and I've talked to Dave, and I understand the budget situation, but I'm just wondering what's going on with 4143 Industrial Lane, as far as the investigation that you guys were gonna conduct and give us a report on. I spoke to you a couple weeks ago. I just wanna get on the record so that, there's nothing crazy going on here. Sure. But we did a lot of digging, we found a lot of stuff, we gave it all to you, we met with you, and have not got 1 ounce of what you're gonna do, or what has happened, or what happened or how it happened or, you know?
Right. Well, thank you for coming up. Yes, as we said, you know, there were a number of questions that you had. Many of them I have responses to and have answers. I still have a few to respond to get information on. We have, there's an individual that I need to discuss and talk to about some of the events, and that person will be returning to work in a few weeks. So I would believe that within,
I'm just looking for a time frame.
certainly by the end of the month, I will have a report to the council, and the report basically is going to be question and answer format, the questions that you asked, the answers that I've been able to find, and we'll give that to the council first, and then certainly to
All right.
yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Oh, looks like it was warmer where you came from than here.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Hey, Rainey, you got a second?